Okay, so in case like there's no query, let's start with the content. Let me share my screen. Okay. First, let's go through the slide and then we will come back. So in this particular session, we'll be with the switching between the PPT and the hands-on part. So I will just show you how to set up the account and use different services. Correct. If you are able to catch up with me, then that's okay. But otherwise, you can always go back and follow from uh, the video which we would be sharing. Okay, so now this session is about the one of the basic service, which is the AWS IAM service. Okay, so as we just talked about, AWS has two types of services. One is the free tier account, which is basically like you can use for uh, doing the hands-on learning the different AWS services and those kind of things. So they will give you some free services with some limit. For example, you can use a EC2 service where you can pick the very basic virtual machine, which is one core, 1 GB RAM, and you can just try your hands on, learn more about it, and they will also give you 750 hours, which basically covers 24 cross 7 for a whole month. Okay, then for next month they have a 750 more hours. So for this free tier service is for complete 1 year. So I will just show you in between what is a free tier. So like this is just for exploring and gaining hands-on on the different AWS platform and services. But if you want to go for a commercial, then they have a definitely commercial service, which is paid service. Then there you get a more functionalities. Uh, the limit is removed. Uh, there are charges, and you also get a SLA based support. So basically you will get a time bound support from AWS if you are stuck somewhere. Okay, so so what this free tier account is like, basically it's a free account. You get a 50 products or more products using this free tier, and it's always free. Uh, Free tier does not expire for a year. 12 months free. Short-term free trials for some of the particular services are also available. So, but for our purpose, we will be mostly using some of the services which are more relevant from the AWS from DevOps perspective. One is the EC2, which basically you get a 12-month service, which includes 750 hours per month. Correct. So you get a different types of VM. So you get a Linux and those kind of operating systems, Linux, Red Hat, and whatever operating systems which does not require any license. So then you get a T2 micro or T3 micro, which is, as I explained, 1 GB RAM with single core functionality. So you can just always deploy your lightweight applications and explore how it works. Then for storage, you get a 5 GB of S3 storage, correct. And similarly, RDS is the relational database service. Is a database as a service. So you get a managed service for MySQL, PostgreSQL, MariaDB, Oracle, and SQL Server. So there also you get a 750 hours per month with overall limit of 20 GB of basically database storage. Correct. So here you can always go back and see what are the different services, what are the restrictions, and what is the like different aspects of that service. So this is the one. Okay. So this one we have already covered, what you pay for the AWS. So we will not go and cover it again. So now let's talk about how to create the accounts for all those who have already created this account. We can see if they need to create any account later. Useful. Okay, so just need to go to this page, or you can just search creating the AWS free tier account. Then you will be landing on this particular page. Click on the free account. So let me just go through the direct hands-on. So this is the page. Create free account. Then enter your email address. Create a password for AWS account, and just give a name to your AWS account, and then continue. So since I have already created this, so I will not go into this process. So I will just show you using the snippets which I took earlier. Okay. So so here you will get this one. What happens, AWS recently has upgraded the UI, and they just keep on upgrading. So screens might look different. Okay, so we can always skip these things. So basically, even after entering your username, Gmail, email, or the credentials, you will come to this page. So you have to select whether it's a company account or personal. So in your case, it should be a personal account. Provide your name, country, address, post number, and phone number. On phone number, you will get a OTP to validate the account. Okay. Then you will get this payment page where you need to enter your credit or debit card. Okay. Once you enter it, you need to enter your phone number also, because using the phone number they will verify and verify whether you are the genuine user. So you can get the you can ask for a call, or you can ask for the SMS also. So once that call process is done, then your account is validated, account is created. Now you need to choose between these options. So here we will go with the basic account. So AWS has multiple types of accounts which you can create. One is an enterprise, which basically is for the enterprises. One is for the business, for if you want to set up some that kind of a service. One is for the developer, if you are developing something, so those kind of a thing. So all these services are different from each other in terms of what you pay, charges which you basically get. For enterprises, basically they will be using the bulk services, so for them the price would be different. They can also negotiate, they are using big chunk of resources. They will get a dedicated technical support manager, correct, and for them. So in case they will have a dedicated person who will be helping them out in different aspects, like either helping them in creating the architecture of application to be deployed on AWS. Similarly, like for developers, they will have a different SLA, 12-hour SLA. But for basic, like there is no SLA there. But if you want any help, you can always get help from the community forums, documents which are available on the AWS. So AWS has a very good documentation and very rich content. So in case if you're stuck somewhere, you always have a AWS community and and different documents which you can follow. Okay, so once you are you are done with the free tier account, so you will get this login page. So here we can just go back to the page. So this is you will see. So I will just come back to this page again because this contains very important thing. So once you log in first time, so I have just created this account. I have done nothing on this page. So this is a freshly created account for this particular session only. So here you will see different services. Okay. So this is the landing page. So this is how it looks. So if you just click here, you will see all different services of AWS grouped together based upon the services, like for compute, whatever the different services which helps in doing the computation, they are grouped together. You can also arrange them in terms of alphabetically. You can arrange them. So there are a lot of services. So you just go to anyone. So let's see if I just want to go to EC2. So this is the EC2 service. So it will take me to the EC2 dashboard. Right? There we can create launch. We can launch a EC2. We can see the EC2 services and other things we can always see. AWS is constantly changing the look and feel of the pages. So it may happen if I show you a particular screen, it might get changed to new interface, but the overall functionality and the options will remain same, but look and feel might change. So that is keep in mind because a particular screenshot at this particular time may not look same 3 months or 4 months later. Okay, so this is how the AWS looks like. So you have a we will just talk about little more about this. So then you have the notifications what are the open issues and those kind of notifications you can keep on getting here. Here you can just go and see the different options. If you want, you can go to your account. It will show you your account details. So it will take you to the billing page. So it will show you the basic information. If billing details and other things, you will get it here. Okay. We will just come back to this later on when we explore further. Then your billing dashboard, obviously, whatever has been charged and those kind of things, you can keep an eye here. In next sessions, we will also set up a alert, which basically you can get an email notification or SMS if your account is charged. So in way if by mistake if you start running a service beyond its permitted time for free tier, so AWS has a functionality where it can generate an alarm and you can get a email notification. So that thing we will cover in next session. So you will always get an email, then based on email you can do the corrective action to stop the service or those kind of corrective actions you can take. Okay, then this part is basically your regions. This tells you if I'm on an EC2 page, if I create an EC2 instance, this EC2 instance will be created in this particular region. So US East 2, correct. So if I change it, if I just want, for example, I just want to launch an EC2 instance which is in, for example, Singapore. So I just change the AWS region, okay, and if I create an EC2 instance, it would be created in that particular region. So if you are not having that edge location and a CDN, we don't want to use that service, and we just want to uh, serve the people of that particular region, we can always choose the best uh, region. So there are certain services which are region independent. These are global services. So IAM is one of the service which is global. You don't need to choose any region for that. Okay. Then you have a support. So for free tier, you always have a documentation and forums. So if I just show you how the documentation looks like for a particular EC2, for example, EC2 instance. Uh, so it will tell you everything, how to create EC2 instance. They also have a SDKs for development of any service using the EC2. So you will get a very detailed information. You will also get the API reference document, which you can always refer, if you are developing something which you need to connect to EC2 using the API. So we will cover up these things later on. So I just wanted to uh, you to get familiar with the look and feel of this page. Okay. So first service which we will be covering today is the identity and access management. So it comes under the security, identity and access. Okay. So let's come back to the PPT. Okay. So this IAM basically what it gives, it's basically the controlling point or identity part of the whole AWS. Uh, since this is a multi-tenancy application, you can say it's a kind of a multi-tenant, so you can create multiple users, multiple groups inside the AWS, and give them different permissions. Uh, just for example, in AWS, by default, when we log in, we have logged in using the root. So AWS is very particular about the security of the AWS services. So root is the exception, but if you create a multiple users, as soon as you create a user, that user will have the minimum access. So basically, the newly created user will have no access. So you have to explicitly configure what services that user can use, how those services user can access. For example, I want to create an user, correct, for EC2. So I have to create a user. I have to configure that this user will use EC2 for read, write, or execute permission. Correct. So that is how the permissions and permissions work for AWS. Then for organizations, different organizations, if they have their own identity service, Active Directory, or some other, if they have a Google, for example, for identity federation, uh, IAM also provides that functionality of linking or creating users via their own identity providers. So we will just go and see how it what it is actually, since we don't have these kind of services available, so we will not be able to show, but at conceptually we will be able to see and visualize it. Then we have a multi-factor authentication. So multi-factor authentication is like just not the username and password. You can also provide other means where apart from user password, a user has to enter other OTP and those kind of a functionality. So there is one question. Okay, so SAML is just like there's a question like what is the SAML logging? So SAML is just a kind of a authentication mechanism. So it's just like in parallel to the OAuth 2.0. So that is a different kind of a protocol to talk to your identity server. So we will see how, and we will not configure it obviously, but once we go to the Scientific Federation, we will see how it looks like and what are how it can be configured. Okay, so then IAM also helps you define the password policy, like what should be the password for all different users of the AWS, when their password should be rotated, when their password should expire, like what should be the complexity of their password and different other things. Then we will see how the IAM helps in integrating the different AWS services. Okay, so this is the AWS console which we just saw. So later on, might be 5-6 months down the time, this might look different. So so this is the region selection which we talked about. Okay, now this is the very important or like interesting part which might be useful in terms of like from DevOps perspective or general AWS management perspective. So if you see here, this is the link which you can give to a particular user and they will be able to log in. So basically they don't have to come to the main page and then choose whether you are a root user or normal user. So you can also share this link, and using this link a particular user can log in. So though we have not created login, but we will create the user and then we will see. So this particular sign-in link can be customized. So normally if you see this 941744 is nothing but it's a AWS account ID, and remembering these names are not generally very easy. So if I just show you, if I use this link, I will be asked to log in. So okay. So if you see, here is my account ID, and if I had created multiple users, they could directly just enter their username and password and log in. So checking in again. So this is the kind of a link which normally people they use it. So since now I am using a root user and I have a full permission. So root users normally, if you see in AWS administration, once the account is created, root users are removed, and only the normal users with restricted access, they are used for login. So, but for just configuring the things, we will use root login, and then later on we will remove it. Okay, so we can customize it as we said, like say DevOps Guru 2020. We can give this name, and you can always share this link. Like you can always give them, and this is easy to remember also. DevOps Guru.signin.aws amazon.com. So in most of the services, you will see this AWS Amazon.com is like is the base, and other things they are added as a subdomain. So it is very easy to remember rather than that particular account name. Okay. So coming back to this one, so this is like I am user sign in links, uh, customizing it some unique name, and that's all. Okay. So now let's come to the important part. So if we see the IAM dashboard on the left side, if we say we have access management. So here you can create groups, you can create users, you can create roles, you can define policies, and if you have some identity provider already in place for organizations, you can integrate that also. So let's create a user first. Okay, so here let's create a user for database user. Okay, so AWS has basically two ways to access any service, or like if you want to access AWS, there are two ways. One is the programmatic access, where it will give you a access key ID and secret key, which you can use for the AWS APIs or SDK or even CLI. So these are generally used for if you are developing something, or using some SDK, AWS SDK for creating some programs or some automated things. Then there is another way, which is basically the AWS console, which we just been using. So let's create both. Okay. So what happens, if I just use access type as a programmatic, while creating the account, I will get a access key and secret key, which I need to save securely, so that whenever I have to use a AWS CLI or SDK, I will use it. But if I use a console, then I will have to create a password. So this password creation can be you can auto generate it, or you can custom password. For example, let me say I will create a custom password for user password @123 exclamation. Okay, so this is a password which uh, I have created. Okay, so here you can just choose whether whenever the user logs in first time, does he need to reset and those kind of a thing. Okay. Then as I explained earlier, whenever you create a user, you have to set the permission, otherwise this user will have no permission. Even if you log in, he will not see any AWS service. So here you can set the permissions. So correct. So okay, so here if you want to group together different users, you can create groups. So we will create groups separately, but here we will just go with the permissions. So for permissions, if you say we can use the existing permissions, or we can uh, uh, okay, so permissions or policies, basically they are somewhat similar. So if you already had a created user, you could create, you could copy those permissions to this particular user. But since we don't have any user, we are not getting any existing policy. So here what we can create, we can choose pre-existing policies uh, which have been already defined by AWS. For example, now since this is administrator database user, so what should be the what are the general database permissions? So you will get the list of those. You can choose that, or you can create your own policy also. Like let's say, for example, I'm using RDS. Okay, So I can choose this RDS where I can have a full access or I can have read access. So if we see, uh, or I can be a database administrator. So let's say I'm a database administrator, and what kind of permissions I will get. So here the permissions are in form of JSON. So, or you can also get in a text this particular format. So if you see this user, if you choose a database administrator, he will have listing permission, he will have read permission, and he will have a limited write permission for CloudWatch. CloudWatch is another service we will talk about later. So here you will have this particular permission for all the resources, and for EC2, if you see, this particular will have only the listing permission. So Elastic Cache have a full access because that is more linked to the database administration. So similarly, like if you choose different services, different policies, basically it will show you what different services and this user can or this particular policy can allow you to access. Okay, so this is how you can check what different access this particular service would have. Or you just, if you just want to have a database read access, that is also possible. Database read. So here Alexa for business read only access. So here you can just choose. So for now I will just database administrator access I will assign to this particular user. Okay, then you can add tags are just for like bookkeeping, or like uh, for payment also, like for tracking for which service you are what you have been charged. These keys can be used. So let's uh, give some text. Just not mandatory, just optional. Okay, so now you get a final page where you can review the your policies. So this is your policy. Okay, and you create the user. So now if you I will just show you once. Okay, so this is what I was telling you. Like once you create a programmatic, once you check that programmatic account, you will be shown this access key ID and secret key. But this is shown only once. Either you download it to some other page, okay, for if you save it. Otherwise, if you don't save it, then it is lost. You will not see this screen again. So it's better to write it down somewhere or save the XML file. Okay, so now you have this user. Okay, so here you can add more user, or you can delete it, and you can do different things. Okay, now let's assume a case where, like in your organization you have a database team, and you have a HR team. So for example, HR team doesn't need an access to database. They are not a database administrators. So you can group different users in different groups and assign these policies at the group level. So what AWS provides, like you have a groups, and under the groups you have a different users. You can assign these policies either at the user level or at the group level. And if you have already assigned a policy to user, and on the top of that, if you define a policy for a group, so the group policy will overwrite the user policy. So let's see, let's create a group. Database admin, for example, this is the group. Okay, So for example, let's uh, let's okay, let it be a administrator, and for EC2, okay, for EC2 it's already having a read-only access. For S3, let's say it also has a read-only access, so you can define it. Okay. So now we have a user which is basically have a database administrative access and some S3 write permission. But if we put it into a group which is having a administrative access plus there's a like no read only S3 permission. So if we create such group and add that particular user to this group, the group policies will supersede the user policy. So now let's add a user to this group. Okay. So basically this is the user management. You can always create groups and add users to it and control the policies at the group or user level. So similarly, you can create a HR group and for example, give it only the S3 read permission, and if you add this database administrator to this admin user to basically that particular group, this user will only be able to see the S3. With all other database related permissions will be overwritten. Okay, fine. So any queries till now? If in case like if there's any queries, we can take up those, and otherwise we can move to other topic. So I hope I'm like you are able to understand what I'm trying to explain, and
Okay, so group policies overrides users policies. So users can have different policies, but in groups, if I've only given two policies, let's say two permissions, so a particular user who has already the permissions are still able to do those things, right?
yes. So basically, group is at the top level. So whatever policies you have defined at the group level, they will supersede the user if user has some other policies already defined. So normally what happens, like you may create a user and you can attach policies to it, and then you add users to it. So users will inherit all the group policies.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, so okay, so the question from Shubham is by default, without creating user, it is a root. Yes, so as soon as you create your AWS account, by default, root user is created, which has a full permission. So this is only the exception where AWS allows you to uh, have a user with full permission. But otherwise, if you create other users, they will not have any permission. They don't have any permission to access any of the resources until unless you attach a policy to it. Okay, so best practice is like once like if you move to enterprise and those kinds of a thing, then best practice is to remove your root user and have a normal users with appropriate permissions. So we will cover that part also. Okay, so let me just see what is the username. Okay. So this one we have covered. Okay, groups and users, I think it is all good. Okay, then there is a concept of roles. So users and groups basically comes into a picture when you want to access using the GUI, correct? So you want to access console, and then this policy will come into picture, whether you can see a particular service or not, or how you will use a particular service. But normally, if you see the AWS how it is used, it happens like you have a EC2 instance, which is basically nothing but a virtual machine. From virtual machine, you might want to upload some data to S3. For example, if you have an application which processes a picture, correct, image uploaded by user. So what you will do, an image comes to you to EC2. EC2 processes that image and stores into the S3. So all these permission like EC2 can access S3, can it write to S3, can it read to S3, how it will access, correct? So those kind of permissions cannot be controlled using the user. So any service, AWS service trying to access another AWS service can't be controlled using the users. So for that we have a concept of a roles. Roles basically helps controlling the permission from how one service will access to other service. So does it make sense? Because this is the very important differentiation which normally uh, for new people it's a new concept. So let me just reiterate it. Users and groups comes into picture when you want to access the AWS console using the web portal. So that will help you which service a particular user can see and which service a particular user can uh, configure from the GUI itself. Okay, roles comes into a picture when one particular AWS service want to access another AWS service. For example, EC2 wants to access S3, EC2 wants to access the SNS service or like some other service. So that permission, like does it have a permission to access S3? Should it be able to read, write, and put something? So those kind of permissions or access is controlled using the rules. Okay, so let's create a role. So it will help you understand how it works. So this is how it works. Like you choose service. Like for example, uh, so if you want, you already have some of the predefined use case also. For example, ECWS to call AWS service on your behalf. So let's say like I want to use the AWS service. It is one question. Yes, so the question from Vishal is if we give a user a custom IAM link and they log in, they only see the services that we access to. We gave access to. Yes, yes, correct, Vishal. So like you give a link to customized link to that user. He will log in using his credential and will only see the services which he has access to it. So we will see for our created user also, but just want to cover this role part and then we will see like for database admin how it looks. Okay, so okay, so let's see if I want to use the AWS EC2. EC2. Okay, so this is the service and okay, S3, then permission. Okay, so S3 should be able to let's go back. I think let's take a simple EC2 use case itself. So okay, next permission, EC2 should be able to access S3 with the read-only access. Okay, just skip it. Define EC2 in S3 access. Okay, So this will allow EC2 instance to have S3 read-only access. Read-only access. This is the role name. Okay. So this is the policy. Like this role will allow EC2 instance to have a read-only access to S3. So like from this particular EC2 instance, we will be only read S3. We will not be able to put anything to the S3. Okay, so these okay, so role is already created. This is the role which we created, and by default, some roles are already created for service link roles. So we will skip it. So this is what the role we have created. Okay. So let's go through this service part policies also. So here you find all the different policies which are pre-configured. So in most of the cases, these policies should be sufficient. You should not be requiring to create your own policy. But if you want, you can create your own policy also. So how you can create your own service? For example, I want S3. Okay. Actions. I want a particular user to only, for example, write. Not write. I think listing is okay. Okay. Listing on all the S3. Sorry. Listing. Okay, and if you have some bucket, you can define that bucket also. Once we discuss this S3, then all these things will come into picture. Okay, so for example, resources, all the resources in S3, this user should be able to list buckets, all the buckets or head bucket. So we will see what these means. For the timing, let's assume S3 is just a service which allows you to create folders, and inside the folders you can put your resources. So here we are creating a policy which basically if we apply this policy to any user or role, so they will be able to only list the contents of the S3. Okay, so if you want other policy, other things also, multi-factor authentication is required, or if you want whitelisting of IP address, any request coming for example 10.0.0.1, that should only be allowed. So those kind of things we can define. So here you can see this policy here. Okay, and you can name policy white listed S3 read access. Okay, so here you can create a policy, and then you can attach this policy to a particular user or particular role. Okay, so so this is what users roles and policy works. So now that coming back to the question, so if we have a user, correct, and user wants to log in, how user can log in? So let me just copy the username database, user to dashboard, copy this, try to log in. Okay, so database was this user, database admin. So is it the user? If somebody can ping me, I just forgot the user that helped me. Somebody noted down the name. Password.
Database user was the username.
Correct. Thanks. Database user password was password at the rate 123 exclamation, I guess. Good. I can remember these complex passwords. So if you see here, this user will only see the things which are saved for. So he will be able to see other things, but not many. Okay, so all the things will be empty for this particular user. You remember S3, I think this user had only read-only permissions. So they will be able to see all the services, but they will not be able to have other things like let's see if they have a permission to create. Okay, so basically you can always go back and see create simple users and those things. So because we created a database administrator which had other sub policies attached, so that's why we are able to access other services also. But if you just create a user with S3 read only permission and then try to log in and see what different services you are able to see. Okay.
Okay, so I want to make one S3 bucket as public so that every user can access it. How can I do that?
Okay, great. So for that, we have an AWS session on S3. So probably next session is on S3. So tomorrow's session is all on S3. So there we will cover different aspects of S3. Okay. So let's come back to the login with the root user. Okay. So I hope you are able to understand different concepts of IAM. So some of the things you will never get a chance because you normally have a cloud administrators and they are more take care of user and group or roles policy creation. So but still knowing things is always good. So if you see here, now you get a dashboard where you see you have a 3 rows, 2 by default and 1 which we created, and then 1 user, 1 group, okay, and 1 policy which we created ourselves. Okay, so here if you see, this is the security status. So AWS will tell you what you should have it. So as of now, we have not activated the multi-factor authenticator, so that's why it's just showing the question mark. And we have not yet created our IAM password policy. So we will come we will cover all the aspects. So there was a question on the identity provider. So this is the section where we can create your provider. If you have some SAML or OpenID identity providers, you can always use and give those configuration to access those identity providers. So as of now, AWS IAM doesn't have that OAuth 2.0 authentication mechanism through this particular option, but you can always enable it using the different mechanisms. So you always get help on the community to how to enable it. So if you have OpenID Connect, you can provide those configuration parameters, and then your identity part, users and those things will be connected via this thing. So if you just give that particular access login link, then they will be able to log in using their organization credentials rather than IAM credentials. Okay, so Vishal, this Active Directory integration, I think this we won't be able to cover because this is little out of kind of a scope for us because we just trying to cover the basic aspects of IAM. So if you want, I can share you some links for configuring the AD server. Sorry. Though there are many help or many documentation or forums, this information is very publicly available, so you can also follow from there. So it is there, but I have not, to be very frank, I have not used it. I have not even integrated many of the INT providers. So only one INT provider I integrated, that was I think OpenID Connect. That was all long time back. So, but if you have a use case, let me know. Maybe we can discuss it offline. So, but I'm just trying to explain you, like, these are the different options available on IAM side. Okay. Okay. Thanks. So, just keep on asking questions. This encourages us as well as, like, enriches others people also, because they also, some of the times, like, people, they have a query, but and they are reluctant to ask the queries. So if you ask the queries, probably that would help other people also. Okay, good. So now coming to the next part. So here, one part is the password policy. So you must have seen in other places, like, for example, Gmail. If you want to create an account, you provide the password, and it will ask you, like, password has to be 6 or 8 characters long. It should start or contains one capital letter, those kind of things. So that is the password policy. So AWS also has a password policy which you can configure. So here you can configure it, like, you can explain, you can give, like, you should have password which is 8 characters long. If you want one capital uppercase character, or at least one number should be there, or special character should be there. Password should expire, you can enable it, and after how much time it should expire, you can also define it. Okay, so once the password expires, does administrator needs to be set it? Okay, so would you allow user to change their own password? So, or would you prevent same password to be used? So those kind of things you can define as a password policy. So whenever a user is created, while entering or configuring the password, these checks or conditions would be applied. Okay, so root, it's basically, like, general password policy for root users as well as both. But in a good practice, you should not use a root users. Once your account is created, you should use IAM users with a restricted access. Because if you're using a root access and it has a full complete access to all the services, malicious users, or, like, or even sometimes unintentionally, some of the services might might be configured in a incorrect way, which hampers the overall AWS services to a particular user. So it's best, like, you create IAM users, give it a proper policy, and then use those IAM users for login. So that is, like, industry best practice for IAM users. Okay, then you have a concept of session token service. What happens, like, you must have if you are aware of, like, we have a concept of tokens. Like, what happens, like, once you're authenticated, you get some random string, correct? Random string, which they call a token. So basically, it's a security token. So, like, some of the services might not be able to okay, so let's say, like, in this way, uh, if a user is there, the user can enter the username and password and access to a service. But if we have to use a EC2 service, uh, if we are developing something application which will run on a EC2 and it wants to access the S3 or some other service, correct? So you can't embed the username and password because that is driven by the rules. So if you want to access a particular service which needs your authentication, so in that case, like, you can't provide username password, but here in that particular things uh, you can use the tokens. So basically tokens are nothing but a kind of a uh, what we can say, user credentials mapped to a particular or like, it's basically user uh, authentication tokens basically. Okay, so generally from the DevOps perspective, uh, these tokens are not used. You will never be, like, a very rare chances you might need to use those. So just like, having a basic concept that is sufficient. Okay, so session tokens, you can say it is kind of a similar to API key, but API key remains same for a particular service. So conceptually, at very high level, you can say it is similar to API key, but it is actually different. Okay. So okay. So endpoints, here you can see the different endpoints of the SDS and their status. Okay, so okay, so then you can always go and see the uh, reports, which are nothing but bookkeeping information. Okay. You can monitor your resources. Uh, so we will not cover this part as of now. So this credential report is nothing but, like, what are the users and their access IDs. You can get it and download for your bookkeeping or the other things. Organization structure, like, if you what it is, basically if you integrate to some organizations AD server or, like, those kind of a things, then probably this information could be populated. So I think this is all general, like, so okay, so earlier there used to be a one key management service as a part of AWS IAM service, but now they have removed it from here and moved it as a different service altogether. So if you happen to go through some old blogs or, like, old videos, then you might see a service, this key management service, uh, as a part of IAM, but now it has been moved as a separate service altogether. Okay, so now coming back to IAM, what we have covered, in tier accounts we have covered. uh, it's already okay. Groups we have created. So in this example, we are creating a group for database administrator, attaching a policy with database administration. Okay, which is same thing which we created. Then we created a database admin user. Here we did not give the programmatic access because database administration basically normally happens with, via the GUI. This is the assumption here. Okay, then you add this user to a group. Okay, and then you review it and complete it. Okay, then we talked about the role creation. So this page might look different, uh, but that is how AWS is evolving, and they just keep on updating the page. So basically, you choose which AWS service you want to create a rule for. Okay, then you choose the policy for that particular service. Like here, we created the EC2 full access. Okay, uh, and then name that role. Okay, and then that role basically you can attach to any service. This is the account setting which we talked about, this password policy. So based upon your requirement, you can create the complexity of the password. Okay, so this is all I had from the AWS IAM. So any questions or any queries before we move to the next round? So since this was the first session, so we have passed through our uh, time, and we are only left with I think 25 minutes. So hands-on part, I would say you can do it yourself. I will just give you a use case which you can try yourself, and in case of any queries or if you're stuck somewhere, you can uh, we can discuss it tomorrow. So let's have a questions and doubt session first, and then I will explain you the use case. Any questions, any doubts, or any suggestions? Anything is welcome. So uh, that would be a kind of a feedback for us, like we are on track. Whatever I am telling you, you are getting it. No questions?
So
No,
Anil, do
Henry?
we do hands-on now or do we do it offline?
Uh, I think Dheeraj, now we are left with a very less time. So, and I think this is a very simple exercise. So I will just explain it. So let them do it at home, and let's come back tomorrow. And if there any query, we will take up those queries tomorrow. So what do you suggest, guys? Is it a good approach?
Yeah, that will be a good approach actually.
Okay. So please make sure that all of you do this because we continue to build on these concepts and we don't want anybody to be left behind. So make sure you do this. Your next assignments will be built on top of this hands-on.
Yeah, because hands-on is very important. If you are planning to have a career in DevOps, so DevOps is one of the area. If you have your hands get dirty at this particular time, so you will feel more comfortable, and you will be able to add value to your resume as well as your technical skills. So I would suggest to try at home. If you have any query, just write us down, or maybe we can discuss it tomorrow. So that would also help you to understand the basic concepts, or if you go for an interview or if you start working for some organizations, these small things basically helps a lot. Okay? So you will be independent yourself. You don't need to look here and there. So that is the main idea. Okay, so so if there's no question, so let me just go through this hands-on, which was we were planning to have it today, as a live collaboration session, but due to time constraints, we
Yeah,
would
Anil.
suggest you to Yes.
Yeah, Anil, there is a question from Manju Ahmed on the chat.
Okay. Is there a plan to create a group or Discord server so that we can? Okay, that is a good suggestion. I would like to have a suggestion from your side. What is a good tool? If you suggest something, we can create a group on that.
Slack would be better.
Okay. So, okay, let us create a Slack group. Probably, I will share it today or tomorrow. Maybe for this particular session, we will discuss it tomorrow, as we may be late to create that Slack and share it with you. Okay. So, but next time we will have a Slack session. We can have a group on Slack, and there we can discuss it. Okay.
Anil?
Good. Yes.
So the hands-on, right? It will be based upon this type of scenario, like creating an HR group, databases kind of thing, like
Yes,
in the upcoming.
correct.
Okay.
So basically, this particular session, even in coming sessions, we have a concept like we will have a theoretical part, first 1 hour 15 minutes, and then we will give you, based upon whatever we have learned, lab session, which is basically collaboration session, where you try those particular scenario there. We can discuss it right there if you have any challenges or something, and then we will give you something to try your hands at home. So that would be a use case similar to what we do in a lab, but a little more complex. We will add some more complexity to that, so that you learn more. So basically, as much as you try your hands, you will become expert. So that is the idea. So lab hands-on, and then you will have a sessions for your home assignments, basically.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. So I think if we are more curious, we try both the sessions, then that will remain more permanent to. So it would be more better in future, if you go for interview or something similar.
Yes, because basically the people and whenever we are getting an interview, they'll be asking about real time of scenarios, like what you have done so far, and what is a real time challenges that you have done. So this might be used as a use case to tell them that we have done these things.
Yes, exactly. That is
project hands-on, right? So we can update in our resume also, we have done all these things while doing this AWS and DevOps kind of things. So thank you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, this was the actual point, because if you go to interview, as you rightly said, nobody will ask for your definitions, like what is the definition of CI, what is the definition of CD. They will always have a questions around the real life scenarios which you have tried. So if you do the hands-on, then basically you will face those challenges, and probably you ask your mates, or you do some Google or search online, then you will be able to correlate the challenges and solutions.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Good. So this session, this hands-on, what we had planned was to create the free tier account. So you will see what are the different options for creating the free tier account. How free tier account is different from other accounts. So that will also give you that kind of information. Correct. Then changing the default sign in URL to customized URL. This you may not be asked to create the customized URL, but you might be given this URL to log in. So you should be able to correlate this URL has been customized. Correct. So those kind of things. If it is not customized, then you should be able to find that this number is the AWS account number. So those kind of things you should be able to correlate. Then create a group for database administrators with in this example, I have just asked for database read access, but normally database administrators will have a database administration uh, policy attached to them. Okay. Then create a user with read write access. Okay. So here the point is like, if you create a group with a read access and a user with a read write access, which policy will supersede? So that is the point of like, having this particular access. Then create a HR group with access to database. Okay. Okay. And then create a user under the HR group with read access to DB. Okay. Then create a role with permission to read and write to EC2 instance. So basically the complete access to EC2 instance. And then create a password policy with particular this constraint basically. Okay, so I hope this hands-on exercise you should be able to do yourself, or whatever we learned today, or is it too much? Let me know.
Just give us the details. Means what do I have to create? Means the user with access, what access? Means the task kind of thing, so that I can do that.
Okay. So here we have mentioned like let's take an example like create a user database administrator with read write access. It's basically a database read write access. Does it make sense, or you want more details? Like we can.
No, that's fine. I was just saying that means in task with like 2-3 lines, create this kind of user and that's all. I was just saying that. I've already done that. So I was just saying that if you
no, that is good. Like whatever suggestions you have, we will try to implement those sessions, those suggestions in coming sessions. These are very useful. Okay.
Thank you.
So for the IAM access, for whenever we create the database administrator access as a group initially with the read access, and then if we give read or write access, you said group policies will override the user policies, right?
Yes.
So they will only have read access and no write access for the database.
Yes, correct. So that end user, like the user under that group should only have a read access. So we have attached a policy with read write access.
Okay. So this is generally like people say least privilege principle is better, right? But this goes into
so least privileged concept is basically a generic concept. So like whenever you create a user, or like whenever you create a resource, it should have a least permission. So if we talk about the AWS, then if you create a user, it will have least permission. Basically, it will have no permission. Correct. So in AWS, you have you don't have a least permission. You have a no permission policy. So even if you create a resource, it will have no permission unless you attach a policy to it. So that is what similar to what we are trying to showcase here, like database administrators. Though this is somewhat incorrect, you should not link it to the real use case, because administrators will have the administrative access, so they will have almost full access. But just for the creating this use case in a different way, so we create it in this way. But I think you should be able to correlate the policies and roles in real life scenario. Yeah, so there is a lot of people asking for a Slack group. So so I think we will have a Slack group. So just give us some time. So we will create the Slack group and add you people to the group. So probably give us a day, or probably like after next session we should have that Slack group. Okay, so good. So I think anything else, or like we still have 10 minutes if you want. Any other general questions regarding the cloud, like introduction or IAM or general AWS? We can discuss those. Or any suggestions regarding how to make this session better, or like if you have any.
I just have one thing to request to all the participants. Please, if you are not already following us on social media, please follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook, Insta. We are everywhere. And of course, do subscribe to the YouTube channel. All these videos would be made available there. And happy learning. Some of you may not have filled in the survey, so please do fill in the survey also.
Okay, so what I can do as of now, this session or like this hands-on slide, I can share it with you over this this conference itself. So just give me a second.
Also share the social media pages if possible.
But just for now, like because that would take little time. So what I was thinking, like if I can share this hands-on just now, that would help. So let me know if you are able to receive this this snapshot of this PPT. Yeah, so I think yeah, there is a query regarding the video upload. So just give us some time. In a 1 or 2 hours, we should be able to upload it. Okay, so anything else like you would like to discuss? Otherwise, we can close for today. And tomorrow we will have a session on S3, and we will try to do the hands-on directly, like planned time itself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah, Manzoor.
Well, kind of doubt in this hands-on, like kind of not clear to me. So using IAM, create a group for database administrator with access to. So you, in the third point, you're asking us to create a group for database administrator.
Yes, correct. So basically a general group, you can name it as a database administrator.
And in the next point, we have to add some users to the administrator group.
Yes. So
Okay.
create any user ABC, correct, and attach a policy like read, write, and add that user to this particular group.
At the same time, there is another group we have to create, which is HR, where we have to give read access to the database.
Yes. Or like if you just to make it better, something different, instead of database, you can also use EC2 or S3. So it's just like your imagination. If you just want to do something different, so instead of a database, you can also use S3. So you can create a S3 administrator group with the S3 read write access, correct, and group with the S3 read access. So you can also play with that also. That will also.
So instead of database, like if we can go for S3 as well.
Yes, that is also possible. Like it's just like how you want to perceive and do the hands-on. Because if you just try other services, then that will also enrich your experience.
Okay.
So
So
that is a
after
good
that, there is
idea.
another point like create a role with the permission to read write to EC2 instance. So if we are creating a role for EC2 instance, then we have to mention like which service we have to give access to the EC2 instance, right? In that case,
Yeah,
it would be
correct, correct.
S3. So
Yes,
kind of unclear. This hands-on is like kind of
yeah, true. That's
just giving
your
my
feedbacks
feedback.
are very. No, that is good. That is very good feedback. So we did not because writing sometimes you all things are clear in your mind, but writing sometimes is
Yeah.
something. So that is second last point as Manzoor said. Like this is very important. So create a role with permission to read write to EC2 instance. So it should be like you should create a role for EC2 instance with read write access to S3. So that would be more appropriate. Right. So basically, roles you are defining like what service.
Anil, if possible, you can edit it here itself.
Let me just go back and see. Roles. If I create a role, this is a role. So here we have a EC2 which calls a service on behalf. So basically from EC2 we have a S3 directory. So it's the same thing. Create a role with permission. Create a role for EC2 instance. Okay, with the permission to read write to S3. So does it make better sense?
Yes.
Okay. So for database slash S3, okay. So that would also make easier because for database, like read write because there are different types of database. So some of the times people they confuse whether we are talking about which database. So you have a read write permission. So it's basically which type of database. So at times some of people might get confused. So let's give permission. Write it like S3. Okay, that would be better. Okay, so this looks better. People can also try both the things or like one of the things whichever they feel better. Let me just take a snapshot of it and show it again. Yeah. So thanks everyone for like sharing your feedbacks because this is a more kind of a collaborative learning. So this will make things better for like well, inputs have to come from both these sides. This will make the program more richer and better. Okay. So good. So thanks everyone for today's session. Spending your time. Hope you must have learned or enriched yourself. It's been an enriching session for me at least. Okay. See you tomorrow then. Same time on same channel itself. Okay. See you. Bye.